Commanders hire Dan Quinn to match with their new general manager, Adam Peters, to lead this franchise into the future.
The way that we live is not for everybody, okay? It's not, all right? Because we're going to run and put our bodies on people in a violent manner.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the blues of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, yesterday's Saints-Commanders game ended with a bang. One that the Commanders will gladly take, but do not want to replicate. Commanders blew a 17-point lead, or nearly blew a 17-point lead, but hung on 20-19 as the Saints failed to convert a two-point conversion to win the game. A lot of controversy surrounding the finish of the game with the seconds. Clock stopped with 9 seconds left. An official stopped the clock for about 3 to 4, maybe even upwards of 5 seconds. Obviously, the Saints spiked the ball with 3 seconds remaining. You do the math, 3 seconds run off. Maybe they don't get the spike. Maybe they have to run a play, don't get a chance to set up, all of that good stuff. Who knows? But ultimately, all is right with the world. Commanders got the stop on the two-point conversion, secure the victory 20-19. As sloppy as it ended up being, as disjointed as that game was, the Commanders are 9-5. We could sit here and lament all of the things that did or didn't go well, specifically the things that didn't go well. There were some injuries that were sustained in the game. We'll talk about those. But by and large, the mission was accomplished on Sunday. The goal was to go to New Orleans and come back victorious and improve to 9-5 on the season. The method in which they decided to get that done left a lot to be desired. That's putting it mildly. But when you see the opportunities that this team created for themselves, you should feel good as a fan. You should feel good, and I'll give you all the things you should feel good about, because we've talked ad nauseum about all the things you shouldn't feel good about. You should feel good about Marshon Lattimore playing 35 snaps and not having a single target come his way in his Commanders debut. Now, I'll warn you that that was out of respect from the Saints, knowing the type of player he is, not even going to bother him, right? I assure you we won't get that same respect, which I am welcoming the challenge, by the way. But I guarantee you the Eagles will not respect him to that degree where they don't target his side of the field. Unless they're having tremendous success on the opposite side, then why bother, right? You can just pick on the guy on the other side. Why even try your luck on that side? But my guess is they'll try Marshon Lattimore at some point on Sunday in week number 16 versus the Eagles, and we'll see, just how ready he is. But I'm excited, right? But you should be excited that we got a corner that commands that type of respect where they didn't even bother coming to his side of the field. You should be excited about Luke McCaffrey as a kick returner. I didn't know what to expect. But he did pretty good for himself. Same could be said for Jamison Crowder. We knew more about him as a punt returner and what he brought to the table, and he didn't do anything dynamic in the game, but I think there was a level of comfort with him back there that I think most of us didn't realize we missed until he got back there. And then you're like, oh, I just feel better, right? I just feel more confident that the operation will go smoothly the way it's supposed to. And that's a far cry from how I used to feel about J.C. Ice, by the way. But that's nor here nor there. You should be excited about the amount of opportunities that Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels created in that game. Move aside the 7 catches for 73 yards and the 2 touchdowns, which were epic throw and catch situations. How about the corner route he ran on the left side of the field that Terry caught, turned around after he ran out of bounds, and pointed at Jaden like, hell yeah, right? And then the 3 deep balls that should have been completed or at least pass interference on one of them. They're starting to get in sync with one another. That's a scary sight. When he's starting to look for Terry, when he's starting to dial 17 up, that's when we're at our best. You should be excited that Jaden Daniels, the runner, is fully back. It's not always pretty, and sometimes it results in a run out of bounds laterally for no gain, and sometimes it results in a sack. You take the good with the bad, but there's more good that comes of Jaden running the football than bad. And you should be excited about his ability to do the things that he is capable of doing on the football field. Now one of 4 quarterbacks to throw for 3,000 yards and rush for over 650 in his rookie season. Robert Griffin III, Kyler Murray, and Cam Newton are the other 3. So congratulations to Jaden for adding his name to that list. I'll assume he'll add his name to maybe a couple more lists before it's said and done this year. Maybe 3,500 yards passing and over 700 yards rushing is probably the next milestone. We'll see if he can make it to 3,500 yards. He's got 3 games to get 500 yards, essentially. We'll see if he can get that done. 4 and some change. He's going to exceed 700 yards. He's already over 650 rushing on the season. I think he's got 654 or something like that. But he's back, and it's fun to watch. I walked away super impressed with Dyami Brown. I can't speak for you, but all Dyami Brown seems to do is make plays when the ball's thrown to him. Again, I can't speak for you and how you feel about Dyami Brown, but I walked away pleased with what we got out of the others. We're going to call them the others. The non-Terry McLaurin receivers. OZ, I think OZ is destined to not score a touchdown this year. For whatever reason, the football gods have preordained that this man should not have a touchdown next to his name this season. The 2 times he has made it to pay dirt, both have been negated by penalties. Had one negated on Sunday on the opening drive of the game. Had the jet sweep against the Bears negated by a penalty. I guess he is not supposed to score a touchdown this season, but he was still really good in the game. Jamison Crowder contributed as well. So the others are getting involved. That's a good thing. Defensively, look, there are a lot of things defensively that we can shore up and be better at. But I thought the overall pressure yesterday was pretty good. It was pretty good. We're going to have to rush in a similar fashion and be very disciplined, kind of like how we were the first time we played the Eagles. But I like the way we're rushing. I've been saying that, the only game that to me stood out as an outlier was the Dallas game. We did not get any pressure. And you got to give them credit too. It was a lot of quick throws, ball out of hands quickly. Like, they didn't let Cooper Rush sit back there. They ran it effectively on first down a lot of times too. So they kept us off balance in that game. But when they did drop back, we didn't get any pressure on Cooper Rush. We didn't sniff him. But really, since I'd say week 7, I guess, is the Carolina game, I think we've been getting consistent pressure on the quarterback. Doesn't always result in a sack. Week 8 was a great example of that. We got to Caleb Williams a ton and couldn't get him on the ground, right? But, he was flushed out of the pocket and he had to break tackles and make things happen a ton in that game because we got good, solid pressure on him. You know, felt like we did a really good job of that in the game against New Orleans. But when we need pressure the most, it never shows up. And that's when you need an X factor. That guy doesn't exist on our roster. You know, for as good as Dante Fowler Jr. has been, for as good as, you know, Frankie Louvu has been at times, that guy, that dynamic, game-changing pass rusher does not exist on our roster. Like, when you need a sack, when you need a guy to win or create a holding penalty or something of that sort, we don't have a guy. You just got to hope somebody wins, or collectively as a group, you know, they're able to, you know, make the quarterback uncomfortable, or one guy gets pressure and he runs him into another guy and that sort of thing happens. But we just don't have that guy. And we knew that going into the season. When one of your starting defensive ends is Cleveland Farrell, you already know what time it is. So, but I thought we rushed well. Deron Payne had a sack. Jeremy Chin. You should be encouraged by him blitzing, even though he may be in concussion protocol. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened with the DQ press conference today, but doesn't seem like we're going to get it. But I digress. The biggest thing you should be excited about, though, is the opportunities that were created in this game. Now, creating opportunities and take advantage of those opportunities are two different things. So I won't bore you with the details, but I'll just say the fact that on offense, without a particularly successful run game, we were able to create explosive plays, opportunities down the field. Now, we didn't take advantage of them, but they were there. You should feel good about that. Right? Now you want to see them cash in on those. And we usually, we've done a really good job of cashing in on those this year. So it's really disappointing to see us kind of strike out in that department, because generally when Terry gets behind the defense, we've hit him, or Jaden's hit him this season. So that was pretty disappointing. But it was good to see those opportunities present themselves. The Commanders had 41 minutes time of possession. It was their biggest discrepancy this season. 41-19 was the time of possession in this game. Like, that's total domination. And obviously it did not show up on the scoreboard where it should have, where it matters most. But we totally dominated. We were 9 of 17 on third down. There were a lot of things to take away positively from this game. And all of this was done without a consistent run game. Overcoming 2nd and 20 multiple times. 2nd and 17, 2nd and 14 multiple times throughout the game. Added another 4th down conversion. We're now 14 of 16 on the season. Best percentage in the NFL. We created opportunities on defense. Had an interception. Had 2 more opportunities for interceptions. Right in their hands. You should be excited about that. Had another opportunity if Jeremy Chin would have extended his arms out and not try to catch it with his body. But let me get to the keys to the game, because they kind of coincide with what I'm talking about right now. So we start with the offensive keys. The first offensive key was start fast. I said 10 first quarter points. We scored 7. So I gave us half a point there. It wasn't the cleanest start, tons of penalties, mistakes. Like, literally it was 1 step forward, 2 steps back. You get the OZ touchdown, penalty, bring it back. You get the Jaden run to put us back at the 1 yard line. Then he decides he wants to stretch it out because he's not down. It gets knocked out of his hand. You're back at the 7. Then you get a Sam Cosmi holding penalty, and now you're back at the 17. And then Jaden has to create magic on 2nd and goal from the 17. Like, That's your first touchdown. And that never should have happened because we were settling for a field goal and then the Saints had a penalty. But we got 7 in the first quarter. So half point there. Protect Jaden and the Duke. 8 sacks on the game. At least 4 of them can be chalked up to just, youthful exuberance on the part of Jaden. But we didn't turn the ball over. The protecting Jaden thing didn't go off without a hitch. So I gotta dock us there, but they did protect the football. No turnovers in the game. Won the turnover battle 1-0. It should have been 2 or 3-0. But again, the opportunities were created. We just didn't take advantage of them, right? So half a point there as well. Run to set up the pass was the next offensive key to victory. I was looking for 150 yards on the ground and 225 yards through the air. I got my 226 or 225. Jaden had 226. I did not get my 150 on the ground. I think we ended up with 136 or 139, something along those lines. So half credit there. And then lastly, score. I was looking for 4 touchdowns in this game, and the opportunities were created. We scored 2 touchdowns, and we had another 2 opportunities. The opening possession of the second half, we marched it all the way down to the 1-yard line, and I thought Cliff Kingsbury had his worst play call of the day. So we had to settle for a field goal. So that was one missed opportunity, and then let's not even talk about the other 3 missed opportunities on deep balls. We should have scored 5 touchdowns on the day, but that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is we did not score the 4 touchdowns that I was looking for. So no points whatsoever there. We made this game a lot harder than it needed to be because we did not take advantage of those opportunities and score the ball. This game should not have been close, and we all know it, right? And if they would have taken care of those opportunities that were created, we would have gotten a blowout, comfortable victory that the statistics suggest we should have in this game. Go to the defensive keys. The first one was a big one, neutralize Alvin Kamara. On the ground, they did that. Through the air, not so much. And then, honestly, his injury sort of shelved him for this game. So I gave us half credit because on the ground, he had 5 carries, 12 yards. He never got activated there, but he definitely was a problem through the air, had the catch over the middle early in the game, split 2 defenders. I think that one ended up being like 20 yards. And then, of course, he had the touchdown catch, the one-handed snag. He had 4 catches for 45 yards, I believe. So he was active through the air. So half point for neutralizing Alvin Kamara. Next defensive key, welcome Jake Haener rudely in his first NFL start. Thought we did that. To the tune of picking him off once, should have had another interception, sacking him 3 times, pressuring him a bunch, just making him look like a, uncomfortable first-time starter in the NFL. That was the goal, and that's what we did, to the tune of him getting benched at halftime. So full point there. Eliminate the explosives. I went ahead and gave us the full point. Easily could have been a half because they did have some big plays. The Valdez-Scantling catch, the Alvin Kamara touchdown. So there were a couple of big ones, but by and large, we eliminated the big plays in this game. So I was pleased with defensively. Like, they didn't give up the big 65-yard touchdown or the 44-yard touchdown or, nothing crazy. They neutralized that Saints offense and really made them work for everything that they got. And unfortunately, we didn't take advantage of, again, those opportunities. Had a sack on a 3rd down, negated by a penalty. Had an interception right in our hands, dropped it. Had another interception, didn't come down with it. So the opportunities were there. We didn't take advantage, but I thought we eliminated the explosives for the most part on the day, so gave them a check mark there. And then the last defensive key, ball is life. Create 2 turnovers, and I was looking for 3 sacks and 7 QB pressures. Again, the opportunities were there. We created the opportunities to have those 2 turnovers I was looking for. We only got 1, but we had opportunities to get 3. You could even make the case for 4. I'd make the case for 4 because that MVS catch over the middle of the field, you had 2 defenders pretty much there, and Jeremy Chin was one of them, and he decided he wanted to go basket catch instead of reaching out and trying to snatch the ball out of the air, and Valdez Scantling came in and took the football essentially because he was trying to catch it with his body. So I thought that was a 4th opportunity to create those turnovers. So really disappointed that we only came away with 1 in the game. But we did get 3 sacks, and we did get 7 quarterback pressures on the head. So they hit all of the other metrics that I was looking for in this game, but they did not create that second turnover. And thus, I only gave them half credit there. So when you tally it all up, on the offensive side, it's 1.5 out of 4. And on the defensive side, it's 3 out of 4. So grand total of 4.5. Generally speaking, we don't win when we score less than 5. 5, you're pushing it. Anything over 5, and you've got a shot. I can't guarantee you victory at 5.5. 6 usually means we win. 7 definitely means we win. 8, I don't know if we've ever gotten an 8 or not. Those are hard to come by. But a 4.5 is usually a loss. But we won. And so, again, do you know how miserable, and I said this yesterday, but having an opportunity to sleep on it, I'm doubling down on this. Do you know how miserable we would have been if we would have lost that game? Do you understand how miserable today would have been? How miserable yesterday would have been? I don't think some of you have actually allowed that to register in your brain. Like, had we lost the game yesterday, we would feel like absolute garbage today. But we won. So take solace in knowing that good teams find a way to win even when they don't have their fastball. We found a way to win yesterday despite not having our fastball. That's what good teams do. So let's go on to In Other News, where we usually hear from DQ on Victory Monday. He had a press conference today. I can't for the life of me figure out what's going on with that presser and why it hasn't been made available to the masses. Maybe we're not going to have access to it today, but that's not going to stop us from, talking about some of the nuggets that came from the press conference today. A lot of the beat reporters were tweeting out things that came from the press conference. So I'll give you a few tidbits of those things, but largely we're going to take a look at the snap counts from yesterday's game. But I also want to talk about DQ a little bit, being that we're not going to be able to talk about his press conference all that much. I do want to have a DQ conversation because I've seen people being hypercritical of some of his decision making, and I want to talk about that. So let's go ahead, take a look at the snap counts real quick, and then we'll come back, have a DQ conversation, and then we'll roll. All right. So 78 offensive snaps. That's what happens when you have 41 minutes of time of possession. That is insane. We almost had 80 snaps in this game. I think our season high this year might have been like 82 snaps, I believe. But 78 is crazy. As you can see, a lot of people played all of the snaps. You got your 5 offensive linemen and Jaden Daniels. So obviously that's usually, if things go well, that's usually the count, the offensive line and the quarterback. And it's really good to see everybody come out of there healthy on Sunday on the offensive line. McLaurin, as per usual, the highest amount of snaps of a non-offensive lineman or quarterback with 90% of the snaps. De'Ami Brown, as you can see, was the number 2 receiver. I think that should continue. When we bring in KJ Osborne, I think De'Ami should stay out wide and KJ Osborne should work the slot. I really think that's where he's at his best. That's where he's the most effective. And I really think De'Ami Brown helps stretch the football field vertically. And I also think he did a really good job catching the football yesterday. So I want to see more of De'Ami Brown. I told y'all before we even got KJ Osborne, I was excited to see De'Ami Brown get the opportunity because I really think he's matured as a receiver and he's ready to contribute. So I was pleased with what we got out of De'Ami. He didn't get a bunch of opportunities. They did do the 2 little, tap passes to him. The first one, super successful. The second one, not so much. They threw him a comeback. He caught that, and then he had the big catch that was late in the game that would have pretty much sewn it up for us, except Nick Allegretti had a holding penalty. So I thought De'Ami was very effective. Brian Robinson Jr., 74% of the snaps with 58. John Bates and Ben Sinnott both had 42 snaps for 54%. I think a large part of why you saw so many snaps from them is the injury to Zach Ertz. We'll talk about him here in a second. Olamide Zaccheaus, 38 snaps in the game for 49%. Jeremy McNichols, 22 snaps, 28%. Jamison Crowder, 21 snaps, 27%. Zach Ertz obviously left the game with the concussion, did not return. 18 snaps for him. Luke McCaffrey, 12. I think that might be a season low for him. If not, it's right in that neighborhood. So clearly you see where he is in the pecking order. We're getting to that point of the season where they're going with the veterans that they can trust. Luke is cool, but they trust other guys more. Olamide Zaccheaus, De'Ami Brown, et cetera, et cetera. Jamison Crowder, first game back, they trust him more, right? And then Trent Scott and Chris Rodriguez each had 3 snaps in the game. So I've been asking the question, what are they going to do at receiver, assuming that somebody has to sit down, because we have not kept 6 receivers all year. I'm looking at Luke McCaffrey and I'm saying, might be you as a healthy scratch here coming up shortly. Luke does a lot of things. He returns kickoffs, so I think there is value. Same thing with Jamison Crowder. He has value. He returns punts now. So I could see a scenario in which they keep 6 receivers up. I'm just saying that's not who they've been this season. But it doesn't mean that's not who they can turn into, right? Now you have a 6th receiver, but all season, due to Jamison Crowder's injury, they didn't have to make a decision. It was usually 5. And even when Crowder was healthy, he was usually the guy that was down. So could we see Crowder go back down next week? OZ go back to punt returner to assimilate KJ Osborne into the lineup. That's something to keep an eye on. Let's get to the defensive snap counts. So 55 snaps in this game defensively. So, that's a lot of offensive snaps compared to a few defensive snaps. Like that's how you get to 41 minutes of time possession. 55 snaps screams 19 minutes of time of possession. Quan Martin, Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu all played 100% of the snaps. So there was this misnomer. I'm guilty of it. Thinking that Quan Martin at some point came out of the game. He did not. They played a lot of 3 safety looks, which included Quan Martin, Jeremy Chin, and they finally gave Derek Forrest a chance, and we all know that it didn't necessarily go well for him in the game. Marshawn Lattimore played 53 snaps in his first game, which is a ton, 96% of the snaps. Mike Sainristil on the opposite side, 50 of those snaps, 91%. Deron Payne, 47 snaps, 85. That's the highest amount of snaps he's played all season. But keep in mind, we didn't play that many snaps. Like normally that's the amount of snaps he plays, but normally we have 67, snaps in the game, or 71 snaps defensively. To have 55 snaps, he can play 47. That's what he normally does. So Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler Jr. each played 46. That's a lot of snaps for Dante Fowler Jr. Jeremy Chin, 40 snaps. Noah Igbenogany, 38 snaps, 69%. Derek Forrest, season high, 31 snaps. I wonder if he's going to get more run moving forward, even though it wasn't the best. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. That was his first time playing like meaningful defensive snaps in quite some time. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. See what he does if he gets another opportunity next week against Philadelphia. Johnny Newton, 31 snaps. He actually was pretty solid in the game. Sheldon Day, 13 snaps, only 24%. Carl Davis, 10 snaps. I wonder how much longer this Carl Davis thing is going to last. Like, I'd be honest with you, he hasn't made a dent for me. I'd prefer to see Fedarian Mathis, who I really want to know what happened to Fedarian. Like, he actually helped block a punt against Dallas, and I thought he was doing solid work on the defensive line. Again, Carl Davis isn't standing out to me, but such is life. Percy Butler, 8 snaps. That's a season low for him. So clearly they talked about competition and they wanted to take a look at Derek Forrest. So Percy was the guy that had to take a back seat, and we'll see if that continues moving forward. Michael Walker felt like he was in a ton early in the game. When Alvin Kamara caught those passes early in the game, Michael Walker was in coverage. I'm like, what is he doing in the game? So he had 6 snaps. It felt like he had 26 snaps. Felt like he was on the field way too much early. Clearly, that didn't last very long. Cleveland Farrell, 6 snaps. I wonder if his knee flared up, because I talked about Dante Fowler Jr. and Dorrance Armstrong both playing 46 snaps. That's a lot for both of them. Normally, Clee takes some of those. Jalen Holmes and Javonte John Baptiste take some of those reps. And maybe this was just a byproduct of, hey, guys are fresh. You know, we dominated the football. We were rarely on the field defensively, so guys were fresh. So no need in subbing guys out. They already got stamina because they haven't been on the field. The stamina bar is still on green. If not green, it's on yellow. But nobody's on orange or red, right? Jordan McGee, 3 snaps. Benjamin St. Juice, 3 snaps. We know one of them was a very costly one. And then Javonte John Baptiste, 3 snaps as well. And I loved one of his rushes on those 3 snaps. So let's get to a conversation real quick about DQ. So a lot was made of 2 things, 2 scenarios in the game. The first, that was a bit of a head scratcher, I will admit. But I like where his head is. I don't necessarily like it in that particular situation, but we know DQ has been ultra aggressive at the end of halves. He was a bit aggressive against Tennessee in a situation where it looked like we had no chance of scoring anything, but he still went for a play. And you're like, yeah, the risk is a lot greater than the reward here. What are we doing? Like, we're not getting in the field goal range. Like, let's just go to halftime. We're killing these boys. Let's not do something dumb and give them a chance to get back into the game. They just scored a touchdown. I know you want some points back, but we're just not in a position to do that. Let's just go to half. This past week, I think it was frustrating because we still had timeouts remaining, and we had an opportunity and we blew that. And then we dropped an interception. So we were backed up all the way at our own 2-yard line. We ran it with Jeremy McNichols. He got us a little bit of breathing room. And then we tried to pass to Terry. He caught it, turned up the field, but didn't get out of bounds. We didn't have any more timeouts, by the way, which made it even more curious as to why he was trying to be aggressive in that situation. You're backed up at your own 2 with less than a minute. It's literally like maybe 24 seconds left or something like that. I think when the drive started, it might have been 40 seconds left, but we didn't have any timeouts. And the Saints had 2, so you're like, be careful here. Is you mess around, you don't get a first down. Now they start using their timeouts, and all of a sudden they're getting the ball back with great field position and a chance to make a field goal. So you're like, hey, what are we doing right now? Right? So it all worked out because you ran it on first down. They didn't bother to call a timeout. We hurried in the line of scrimmage. We hit Terry on a comeback. He runs, gets the first down. But You're like, bro, what are we doing? Like, we're a million miles away from a touchdown and like 60 yards away from a field goal attempt. Like, what are we doing right now? With no timeouts, by the way, and like 12 seconds. And then he throws a check down to Luke McCaffrey. I'm like, can we just go to half? Like, I don't know how many of you are old enough to recall. I'm saying this like it's from 1986 or something. D'Angelo Hall, Sunday night game against the Cowboys, strips the ball from Tashard Choice, I believe it was. Either it was, I think it was Tashard Choice. He strips it from him. This is right before half. I don't know what Dallas was doing, right? And he takes it all the way back for a touchdown. And the only touchdown that was scored in the game, I want to say by either team. I know that was our only touchdown of the game. We ended up beating them like 10-6 or something crazy like that in that game. And it's just like nothing good can come of checking it down to Luke McCaffrey here deep in your own territory. Just go to half. And so people were really critical of him in that situation. I like the fact that he was aggressive there, but I understand why people are like, what are you doing? I just like the fact that he trusts Five enough to not turn it over and be aggressive in those spots and try and get points. There were situations in past years where we would have tons of time, all the resources we need, and we would be content with going to halftime with whatever the score was. And that's never DQ. He's never satisfied. And I like that. And I love that he's confident in his quarterback to go out and protect the football. But, you know, that one on Sunday against the Saints, you're like, bro, what are we doing here? Like, let's just go to half. We're up 14-0. Let's just get the ball after half. Let's just go to halftime. But I want to defend him on the field goal attempt. I'm seeing a lot of people criticizing him for the attempt. I'll never criticize a coach for being aggressive in that spot. You know, the passive aggressive thing would have been to punt the football. He said he had a space, and he's been consistent in this because he did the same thing when we kicked the field goal against, who was it? I think it was Philadelphia. It was either Philadelphia, Dallas, one of those games where I wasn't happy with the decision to kick the field goal. We missed the field goal. And he said, look, we had already decided once we got into that space, we were going to kick the ball. And I was like, that's loser talk. It was 4th and 4. You should be going for it, not kicking the field goal. But he had a specific distance that they were comfortable with Greg Joseph kicking the ball from. I'm all about going for the win. Like, I remember similar situation came up with Rivera when we played the Bears on a Thursday night. And I forget who our kicker was. It might have been Joey. It was Joey Sly at that time. And he missed a kick. It was a very similar situation. We were up 12-7. A field goal there ensures that you don't lose in regulation, puts you up 8. The Bears hadn't done anything pretty much all night, so you felt comfortable that going up 8, kicking the ball off, them having to drive 80 yards, whatever, 85 yards, 75 yards, you would feel confident that you'd be able to get it done. But if you miss this field goal, they're going to have great field position, and they're going to have a chance to beat you. And, of course, Joey Sly, on cue, missed the field goal. They went down, and they ultimately had a chance to score a touchdown. Darnell Mooney bobbled it. Defoe got the stop, kept him out of the end zone, and we preserved the victory 12-7. Very similar situation. I'm always going to err on the side of go for the win. A field goal there puts you up 2 scores. I had zero confidence that the defense was going to get a stop wherever the ball was placed. So go for the win. 54 yards is not a long field goal in this league anymore. If your kicker can't make a 54-yard field goal, you have the wrong kicker. So I didn't have any gripes with the decision. Had it worked out, you wouldn't have either. You can't have revisionist history after it didn't work. Now all of a sudden you have an issue with it. I thought it was a good decision. The kicker and the long snapper didn't execute. Tressway got it down and gave us a shot, but Greg Joseph didn't deliver. I got no issues with DQ, and I thought it was a good decision. So, and I thought it was very ballsy of him to go for it on 4th and 1 at your own 40-yard line, essentially 45, I believe we were at. I thought that was ballsy as well, and I credit him for that too, because he knew, hey, let's win this thing on offense because I don't really trust our defense to do a damn thing. And good thing we did get that first down and burn some more clock, because if we'd have gave them the ball back with ample time, they would have probably beaten us. Or we would have had to give the ball back to Jaden, needing a field goal to win the game. And he probably would have delivered, but you just didn't. With Greg Joseph, do you really trust it at this point? Speaking of which, we'll go ahead and get out of here. So, I don't know where the press conference. Hopefully, it'll somehow mysteriously, miraculously end up somewhere before tomorrow's show, and we can talk about it then. But we did get tidbits from some of the beat reporters. Zach Ertz and Jeremy Chin are both in concussion protocol. So I don't expect either one of them to play on Sunday. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Didn't get an update on Jeremy Chin. So I guess that's something we'll have to wait until Wednesday to get. Zane Gonzalez was close to playing. They said he was having issues with his plant foot, which they listed his left foot as the reason why he's on the injury report. So they said he was close to playing, and they think that he'll be ready to go this week. But, obviously they're going to put him through the ringer to see how he holds up. But if he's healthy, he's the kicker. And you know what? I think I'm good with that. I think I've seen enough from Greg Joseph. I'm good, right? Boy, we just got to keep buying time until Austin Seibert gets back. 2 more games. That's it. And then Tyler Biadasz should be good to go against the Eagles. Obviously, he was out with an illness. And so DQ after the game said he looked like hell when he showed up for the game. He wanted to play, and it was like, no, bro. You got a temperature. You look like shit. We'll do this one without you. Just get better. So he should be ready to rock and roll, and we should be back at full mass on the offensive line, barring any setbacks on Sunday versus the Philadelphia Eagles. But we will discuss that game in greater detail as we get further in the week. But I know for some of you it doesn't maybe feel like it, but celebrate. It is a Victory Monday, and we are 9-5, and we are inching ever so close to the postseason, and we are in a really good spot. And I'm anxious to see what KJ Osborne will bring. I'm expecting him to be, practicing this week and ready to jump in the mix. So we'll see where that goes. But until then, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Got a game that you should be watching tonight. I expect the Falcons to beat the Raiders, but that one matters. If they lose tonight to the Raiders, 10 wins is a definite in you're in. Like, they're the only team that could make the playoffs over us with 10 wins if we don't beat them head to head. If they win out, which would include a win over us, and we lose 2 out of our final 3 games, which would put us at 10, they would hold the tiebreaker because they beat us head to head. So they're the only team that can threaten us with 10 wins. So 1 loss, and it doesn't matter who it comes from, by the Falcons, and we're in the clear pretty much from that perspective. But they should take care of business. I'm not looking for anybody to do any favors for us. We play them. We can take them out ourselves and not have to worry about the Giants or the Raiders or any other garbage team they got left on the schedule. The Panthers having to do dirty work for us. We beat them. We have nothing to worry about, right? Anyway, or just get to 11 wins. And they can't get to 11 at this point this season. They already got 7 losses. So they can't get to 11, but we can. So you got 2 ways to eliminate the Falcons, but they can eliminate themselves by losing to a team like the Raiders tonight. So you have homework. Watch that game, and you should be watching the Vikings too, because that's a playoff team. And who knows, we may see them. They could win that division. The Lions are banged up. Anyway, I digress. You guys, enjoy the football tonight. You know where to find me when it's all done. We'll break it all down. Until then, you guys have a good one. Take care. See you next time.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the